I'd like to bring to order the Liberty 25 Governing Board Organizational Meeting, October 7th at 5:30 p.m. at the Jerry Rovey District Facility. Board members present are Chris Kenyon, Brian Cirincione, Paul Bixler, and myself, Brian Parks. Ms. Bixler, can you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Liberty Elementary School District Governing Board meeting. We appreciate your interest in the district. The 5 elected governing board members serve without compensation and volunteer countless hours on behalf of our students and staff. The president and vice president of the board are elected in January. Under state law, the governing board may only discuss and vote on matters that are on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Agendas are posted a minimum of 24 hours in advance on the Liberty Elementary School District webpage and at the Jerry Rovey District Complex. Copies of tonight's agenda are located in the foyer and on the district webpage. If you wish to make a public comment, please complete a request to address the board form and submit to the board secretary before the meeting starts. These forms are located in the foyer prior to entering the governing boardroom. Members of the public will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak once recognized by the governing board president. Please state your name before you speak. During the call to the public may speak on any item of business on the agenda that requires the board to take action. The public may also speak to the governing board about a school district matter that is not on the agenda. State law prohibits board members from commenting on or discussing the matters presented at the end of the call to the public. However, the board may ask the superintendent to review the issue or place it on a future agenda. A board member may also briefly respond to criticism of a board member or the governing board itself. We ask that all speakers show respect and courtesy to others. Comments must pertain to a matter that is within the jurisdiction of the governing board. This is not an appropriate forum to complain about an employee, student, or others. We also ask the public who are present for the meeting to be respectful by being attentive, avoid calling out or creating any disruption that may interfere or interrupt the meeting. Individuals who interrupt or interfere with the meeting may be asked to leave by the board president. Thank you for allowing this meeting to be conducted in a peaceful and productive manner. And thank you for your attendance and involvement in tonight's meeting.
Okay, we will move to item 1.3, approval of election of board president. I'll take a motion or any discussion.
Mr. Parks, I would like to motion to approve Brian Parks as the new board president beginning October 7th, 2024.
Have a second?
I second.
Okay, I'll have a vote. Mr. Cirincione.
Aye.
Ms. Bixler?
Nay.
Mr. Kenyon?
Aye.
I'm also an aye, so I'll show that passed 3-1. Move to agenda item 1.4, approval of election of board vice president. I'll take a motion or discussion.
Mr. President, motion to approve Chris Kenyon as board vice president beginning October 7th, 2024.
Second? I'll take a second.
I'll second it.
I'll go for the vote here. We'll start with Mr. Cirincione,
Aye.
Ms. Bixler,
Nay.
Mr. Kenyon.
Aye.
I am also an aye. I'll show that passed 3-1. The organizational meeting is hereby adjourned at 5:35. We're going to take about a 5-minute break and then continue with our regular meeting. Bring to order the Liberty 25 Governing Board regular meeting, October 7th at 5:37 PM at the Jerry Rovey District Facility. Board members present, Chris Kenyon, Brian Cirincione, Paul Bixler, and myself, Brian Parks. I'd like to have this opportunity just to make a brief statement. I'd like to assure the entire staff and community that this board has complete confidence and support of Dr. Monroe and his leadership. At no time has any of the board members present here today even considered asking Dr. Monroe for his resignation. I would like to also personally thank Dr. Monroe for his dedication and leadership, working tirelessly on bringing excellence to the district. Move to item 3.2, approval of the regular agenda.
Mr. President, motion to approve the regular agenda consistent with board policy BE, DB, and temporary suspend governing board policy with which this agenda may be inconsistent.
Second.
We go for the vote. Mr. Kenyon?
Aye.
Ms. Bixler?
Aye.
Mr. Cirincione?
Aye.
I am also an aye. I'll show that pass 4-0. Move on to administrative reports, 4.1, attendance enrollment report and superintendent update. Dr. Monroe.
President Parks, Vice President Kenyon. I'm going to have to get that right and train my brain here. Good evening. Congratulations on your appointments tonight. I look forward to working with you and under this new board. Just a few updates in the attachments that are provided. Wanted to update the board on our enrollment. We are up 117 students, which is great news. And so people are moving to our area. They're choosing our schools, and which is very exciting, especially with Loretta Zumbro opening up. That is a good trend to be a school district that is growing. Our attendance rate was about 91% this last month. That's down a little bit from August, but not significantly, and that actually follows the trend that we've seen the last few years where the August attendance is 92, 93%, and then in September we go back down to about 91%. We recently had parent-teacher conferences, as the board is aware. Lots of great contacts and involving our parents as partners in education. We do it together. And then I would say the organization, our teachers, our families are very excited and looking forward to a fall break that's coming up. I know many of the board members are as well. And then the last thing that I just kind of wanted to update the board on, I'm going to let Mr. Dane Bolden speak. There were some questions brought up regarding a PTO at Westar, and so we've kind of supported and looking into a few things with them. And so I was going to let Mr. Bolden just speak to that briefly.
Dr. Monroe, is it possible to ask a question about attendance before we move to that?
Sure.
There's obviously been growth and decline in some of the school campuses, and we have overall positive growth. How much of that change in number from our schools are moving within the schools? I'm just wondering, because it looked like Liberty was starting to grow a little bit. Are we starting to see some of our people in other campuses moving it to Liberty?
That one I'd have to look on specifically at Liberty, and I would have to even ask administration if that's where if they're hearing the parents are coming from within the district and choosing Liberty Elementary School. So we do track that, and I can report to that. I just don't have that.
Yeah, I'd like to know if there's some movement within our district. Very positive that we have, even within that movement, positive growth. So that's great news.
Yes, going to many superintendent state meetings, the majority of the school districts in Arizona are shrinking for whatever reason. Vouchers, charter schools, choice. However, to be in an area that's growing and houses are being built is very exciting. And the fact that people choose our 117 more kids are choosing their parents are choosing our schools. And typically you see throughout the year that number continues to trend up, throughout the school year. So it's good news, different than it was last year, as we were kind of down a little bit.
Dr. Monroe, if you don't mind, also on the attendance part, it's good to hear that attendance is 91%, I think is what you said, which is a little bit down from the previous month. However, this month we had some weird situations with school threats, and there was a lot of kids that were held home for a couple days. How much do you think that impacts if we were to remove that day or those couple days? Where do you think that would kind of fall?
Statistically, it would have an impact. I don't know what the significance would be, but yeah, if you were to speak to any of the principals in the room, definitely when all of that went down with Buckeye Union High School, we felt it the next day, definitely, and probably the remainder of that week. So there was 2 or 3 days there where attendance was definitely a lot lower than it normally is.
So you think it might be safe to say if those days that happened, those kids were in school, if we kind of eliminated that, we probably would be in a positive.
Yeah, potentially. Like I said, in August, we are, I think it was a little above 92% across, kind of across the board, district average. And then in September, it was a little above 91%. So it definitely could have affected it to a percentage point, but not anything that's super alarming to me, especially when I look at the last few years' data, when we see that in September, either people are going on vacation or more kids are sick or what have you, that it ticks down just a little bit. So, but I know our administrators, our principals and teachers are working really hard to ensure that kids come to school and help the family so that the kids come to school.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Bolden?
President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, members of the board. This is a statement put together by Mr. Diesner and I regarding the Business Services Department research into the $27,000 checks that were written from Westar's PTO last year. And I'm going to read this verbatim. 2 checks were sent this past April and May, totaling $27,000 from the Westar PTO to the Westar Elementary School. These checks were properly deposited into the Gifts and Donations Fund. These funds were used for benches, tables, and other equipment needed by the school. The Westar Gifts and Donations Fund currently has an unallocated balance of $8,900. All funds are properly accounted for, and were not misused. Moving forward, the Liberty Elementary School District will support our PTO partners by providing training and guidance through our parent-teacher organization guidelines for financial and operational responsibilities, as well as board policy adjustments to help guide our parent organizations when making detailed and itemized donations to the school district.
And that is superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Dr. Monroe. And then we move on to one of my favorite parts of our meetings. It's the governing board and superintendent recognitions. And if we can all move to the front here.
Mrs. Schaefer, you wanna come down?
On behalf of Dr. Monroe and the governing board members and myself, the Liberty Elementary School District is proud to foster a community and culture that motivates and recognizes those who make exceptional contributions to our students. They embody our core values of respect, integrity, accountability, high standards, and are student-centered. We aim to reward excellence and show appreciation not only to our staff, who achieve significant goals and exhibit exemplary behavior, but also to our dedicated parents and volunteers who make invaluable contributions to all our schools and classrooms. As I call your name, please come forward for recognition, and we will take a group photo afterwards. From Las Brisas Academy, teacher Karen Pierce Charles. On-site staff, Leah Racino Hodges. District support staff, Malaya Collins. Congratulations. Parent, Jennifer Craig. And probably one of our most valued, resources at all of our schools is our volunteers. This award goes to our volunteer, Daniela Vasallo. I couldn't let you off that easy.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 4.3, the strategic plan goals and presentation. Ms. Amy Castellanos. She was hiding.
There you go. As the board is aware, President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, members of the board, Mrs. Castellanos is helping us facilitate our strategic plan. She's jumping on a plane at 6:30, so we told her she would be able to present the goals, and then later on in the meeting, the board can approve those if they see fit. So, Mrs. Castellanos?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today, and thank you for all of your hard work and dedication to the strategic plan for Liberty Elementary School District. Today, we're just going to review kind of the process so the public can know what our process has been to go through the strategic plan and review some of the revised goals and then determine some next steps. Over the last almost year now, we have been working with this board diligently to get through what the priority areas are. We worked in November and December to do the self-evaluation for the board and then moved from there to develop some priority areas based off of that evaluation. That evaluation is an evaluation that's been used for a number of years through the Arizona School Board Association. In April and May, we collected data from the public and used survey data around the culture and climate surveys. That data was used to develop the mission, vision, and value statements that we are now using here at Liberty. And then from there, we have worked with the administration team to develop priority areas, and then also worked with the governing board and then the executive leadership team to develop the goals. So from here, this is a piece of the focus, or the focus of learning is a piece of what was used as a part of the culture and climate survey to help determine those mission, vision, and value statements. The core values we came up with was respect, accountability, integrity, student-centered approaches, and high standards. We also did a SWOT analysis back in July that really determined what our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats might be to the district. Those priority areas that were developed with the leadership team were the instructional services, employee excellence, effective systems, safety and resources, family and community engagement, and marketing and communications. From there, we began developing our goals. You'll see that our goals are a little bit different. The reason why they're a little bit different is because we are going to use key performance indicators underneath each goal, but we wanted to have a high-level, broad stroke goal. So instructional services is very specific to our teachers and how our students are taught. These 4 goals are the goals that we're asking the board to adopt today, in particular for our students. Employee excellence, the board and the administration has recognized how important our employees are and value them, and they show that value through these goals here. Effective systems, safety, and resources. This one is one of those all-encompassing, right? And we wanted to make sure that everybody, every department could really see themselves in the strategic plan. So we've laid out 4 goals here, and you'll see that those key performance indicators, there'll be many more of those under this particular area. Family and community engagement, as we've noticed, this board really does put a priority on engaging our families and ensuring that our community has strong partnerships in order to braid the strengths of this community into our school districts. So family and community engagement, you'll see that here. And then communications and marketing, we all know that we're up against a lot, and we need to be able to get the information out that what we're doing well. It's really easy for us to focus on the negative, but there's so much positive going on in this district that we had to have a plan that really focused on getting those positive messages out. So as of next steps, we're looking to approve the strategic planning goals today with whatever revisions you may have for us. And then we'll develop some key performance indicators for each goal. Those KPIs will then be brought back to the board for your approval, and then I'll present the finalized strategic plan. Any questions?
I just have kind of one comment. I want to thank you, Ms. Castellanos, for your leadership through this. It's been actually, I've been through a number of different strategic planning projects in my career. I would say that with her leadership, this has gone probably the most smoothly I've ever witnessed. And I want to thank you very much. I also want to thank the staff who participated in the whole process, because they put in a lot of time to help us with the direction of this school district. And I just want to thank everybody that was involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to 4.4, Special Services Presentation by Ms. Hamrick, the Executive Director of Special Services.
President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, members of the board, just to remind the board, in the fall, we typically have our departments come and present to the board some of the goals, the things they're working on, the celebrations. And so Mrs. Hamrick is here tonight representing Student Services, and she'll do that now.
Good evening, President Parks and Vice President Kenyon. I'm here tonight to give a little presentation. It's the beginning of the year, so we're just now getting rolling, but I'm going to give you some numbers and some of our goals. Okay, so some of our celebrations, one of them is that up until last week, all of our positions in special ed were filled. So that's a pretty nice accomplishment, because we did add teachers, and so now they're all filled for us. We have a really good defined continuum of services for students who need a little bit of special ed and all the way until a full day of special ed. So we have a really nice continuum of services. Our preschool evaluation team is up and running every Thursday. So we have a team of professionals on Thursdays to actually screen and evaluate kids in the preschool age 3 and 4 years old, so that we can get them ready to go for kindergarten. So I'm going to show you a little bit more numbers on that, and you'll be very surprised this year. Okay, so here's our staffing data. If you want to just take a look at that, I know you have this PowerPoint, but Blue Horizon has 5 SPED teachers, Estrella 4, Freedom 6, Los Brisas 2, Liberty 2, and Rainbow, you can see that 8.5. That's because we have this behavior, the CCB program there, as well as the CCA program there. So we do have a lot more self-contains, and you'll see that on the next slide. And then Westar has 6.5. This is a big celebration. We have related services. We have no virtual. All of our related services are in person. And we've actually been able to hire everything we need up to this point. And you'll see some more as we grow, so will our services. Let's take a look at the percentages of special ed. So our national average is 15%. That would be the percentage of special ed in the general population of all students. Arizona is 13%, and we are 17%. We're seeing this little raise because of our preschool. We're now identifying kids at an early age. So if you want to take a look, there's nothing in those percentages that glare. Liberty would, but that's because our preschool is located there at this point. Okay, so let's look at preschool numbers. Last year, they weren't this high with inclusion. And so when we talk about our tuition, our inclusion preschool, students with IEPs, and then we have tuition. So our tuition AM, we have 25 and PM 17. It is growing weekly. So we're getting kids, typical kids in our preschool classrooms. So if you want to look at the 67 and the 57 up, that's our total preschool population. All right, so the preschool evaluation team, you can take a look at what they've been doing. They've had, the eval team started on August 15th. They've done 18 evaluations. And then out of those 18 evaluations, only one child did not qualify. So there are 17 students that did qualify for special education. And remember, when we're talking about preschool, that could be speech, that could be, a little bit of special ed, a lot of special ed, but we're hoping that those kids, they get the early intervention they need as a preschooler so that when they get to kindergarten and first grade, they won't need those services. So that's our hopes. Okay, whoops. And child find. So we are obligated to find all students with special education needs. In our preschool, early intervention child find, we want to find them early and as early as possible. So we do, not only do we do a 45-day screener for typical or for our special ed kids that are from kindergarten up to 8th grade. And then we do an early intervention for child find where parents bring their kids in. And also at schools, if administrators see that there are 2- and 3-year-old students, we give them the child find number so they can actually call our office and set up an appointment. All kids who go to our preschool have a screener, and if we see that there are needs, then they'll go into an evaluation. We get those kids right away. And the school aged, it's a little different. We do a 45-day screener if they're new or they're a kindergartner, and then we start looking at the needs and see if they need to go through the CST process or if there's actually something that needs to be looked at sooner than later. Okay, special ed goals. These are some of our special ed goals. We're going to continue to follow our continuum of services and have those classrooms and teachers available for kids so that we can provide special ed services. We're going to continue to give professional growth, development for professional growth to our teachers. The one nice thing with our team, our evaluation team, now all of those related services and preschool teachers can actually have a PD day now. So that team allows that to happen now, because last year we did all of our child finds on those Fridays when teachers were doing their professional development. We want to continue inclusion. We want to get all of our preschool kiddos. We want to get them typical and those that have special needs involved in school early on. And we're going to continue to recruit related services, special ed teachers, so we can get the best of the best to teach our students here at Liberty Elementary School. And we're going to continue with our parent partnership. We're going to continue with our parent nights. And I have an open door policy. Lots of parents come to visit me. And we want to make sure that they understand that we're here to support them and their students. Okay, let me go back. All right, so you can see I highlight the yellows because those are the steps that we want to get to right away. And that's create, or I'll try to get there right away, create a 5-star preschool program through Quality First. We want to continue to build the relationships with parents. We want them to feel comfortable coming to our SPED forums and discuss difficult situations and easy things so that we can actually let them know that we are here to make sure that their child gets what they need. And we want to create more opportunities for teachers to see good teaching. So we've been trying to work on that with our self-contained. We have some amazing self-contained teachers, and our new teachers are going into their classrooms and they're going into the new teachers' classrooms so that they can actually see and really feel what a excellent self-contained classroom is. Okay, I keep going back. Are there any questions? I told you it would be short and sweet. Are there any questions? You know I like questions.
Start with Mr. Kenyon.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Hamrick. Couple questions. I mean, it's good to see, I've been around the schools and have been able to get into some of these self-contained classrooms, and it's wonderful to see the interaction there and how they're focused and dialed in on these child needs. Each individual one has their own needs. What I want to ask you is more in regards to the screening. So I know that there's screening that goes on prior to, accepting them.
Preschool?
Preschool in particular, which is great. Then we move into kindergarten, and lately there's been a little bit of issues with in particular situation in a kindergarten class or a couple classes. And so what kind of screening goes on with kinder or first grade even?
So that's if they're new to kindergarten, which they're from our preschool, which is a federal, preschool falls under federal. So the kindergartners go in for a 45-day screener. So they are in that classroom for 45 days, and the teacher will fill out the 45-day screener. That will go to the psychologist, after those 45 days, and they'll start looking at what interventions are being put in place or what interventions need to be put in place. That's if they don't have special ed. If they do have special ed, then your CS team will come together and find interventions or bring in the behavior interventionist to come in and to support the teacher with interventions. And then we go from there. There always has to be data collected in order to make sure that child is in their least restrictive environment.
Yeah, I understand that and I appreciate that. That's for if somebody's coming in through preschool and they've already went through the screener. What about if they haven't went to preschool and they're just coming first day, we get them, how quick is that screening that when a
45-day screener.
Okay, that's one of my concerns is that too long? There's been some instances where, a teacher can identify this child is disrupting the class and it's pretty elevated. And so is there something we can look at to see if 45 days is enough? And how much input does the teacher have in this?
Well, the teacher has a lot of input in it. However, if the child does not have special education and they come in without that, there's actually a process. Even if they were to do a MET 1, which is the permission to test, that there's a 60-day guideline for all testing. So it can be done before 60 days, but they have until 60 days. So depending on what they're testing and what are the things they're looking for, and that team makes that decision. And the team also makes the decision in the long run. If they've done everything that usually it's a 6-week, 8-week. There are some situations where a child may have special ed, like nonverbal, and they may start on the process earlier. And that would be that team's decision to do so.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're identifying the children that need the help and not causing more issues in the classroom for the other 20 kids that need to learn. So
yeah, and we do have even our CCB classroom last year, there were 3 children that went into the CCB classroom. However, when they got there, they found no behaviors at all. So they're sitting in a CCB classroom. We're going to hopefully get them back because sometimes the interventions are either not enough interventions or they're not being implemented with fidelity.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, my question actually I have two, and one is down that line. Just so I understand, even though a child may not be receiving services through an IEP at this moment, doesn't stop us from intervening, correct? So
Correct.
let's say we have a child and we're trying out some of the interventions. So if we have this child in there, it doesn't mean we can't intervene, even though they're not under an IEP.
Because once they get an IEP, that doesn't mean that they're leaving. It means that those interventions are going to be put in place and they're going to continue because they don't have any special ed. There are certain situations where a child, we already know that once we do the evaluation, maybe they're nonverbal or they're showing some tendencies that are really not typical. And those are few and far between, but they do happen. And then that's when we would go straight to a more restrictive environment. Because as I talked about before, there's an A census, a B census, a C census. We have to follow that. The state law and the federal law guides that.
Right. Now for my questions.
Okay.
Mine goes back to preschool. A big component to what we do with a child who's already in kinder through eighth is we look at their response to the interventions we put into place.
Correct.
Now, the preschool doesn't have that opportunity because we don't really have a lot of time to put in place interventions.
Correct.
So how does that work?
We screen them. So the team will screen them to see if they see any red flags. And then if they do see some red flags, they go straight into an evaluation. And so, yes, and there are a lot of kids that come from AZIP, which is it's a birth to 2.910, and then we have to get them in when they're 3 years of age. So sometimes we just get them straight from AZIP. That's a state agency that supports those families with kids that are not school age or preschool age.
And that gives a pretty good indication of what they're doing. And
So
what
if parents
works
get
with
their
them.
kids, if they get their kids into an evaluation or a screening in preschool, we don't wait on it. We go ahead and do that because we want to get them early on. And that preschool is a little bit different than school age.
Right, yeah, it would have to be just because of the construction of it.
Correct.
The second question I have has to do with numbers. The strength of that preschool program is the typical student that's also in there. I know we're growing as far as the students that are potentially up for IEP. Mm-hmm. Are we having problems recruiting kids for the typical?
No, we're not.
Okay.
Not anymore.
And I would
Getting word of it.
And I would say, Board Member Bixler, and that's a good sign when your preschool is growing because it's indicative of a young community with preschool age kids who are choosing our schools. And so those students in preschool are likely to become kindergartners all the way up to eighth graders. So usually it's been my experience when you see a good, healthy preschool population, that indicates, excitement around the school district. People are wanting to enroll their students, and most parents who have a great experience in preschool are gonna stay with us. And the one other thing I wanted to mention, just to reiterate to the board, we're exploring moving the preschool to Loretta Zumbro, as the board is aware. As we grow and shift programs, we've been in conversations with Mr. Young and with Mrs. Hamrick for the next school year, potentially having that front building of Loretta Zumbro being preschool. Really nice and easy for parents to pull in, drop their kid off, have their child picked up. And so that should be an exciting thing. However, preschool will continue to change as we grow as a community. We could potentially, in a few years, do one at each school or do one at multiple schools. But for now, the preschool is likely to move over to Loretta Zumbro in the fall, our preschool classrooms here at Liberty.
I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I just had one question. We're talking about the services and support students get, and you mentioned like the goal is to try to get them off the support and services, right?
Right.
And I understand some students will never get off, and there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know off the top of your head like what % of students we're actually able to provide services to? And if you don't know off your top of your head, I can get the numbers later. But I was wondering how many we actually give services to that actually are able to come off and.
It depends on the year.
Okay.
It really depends. A lot of students that have speech only, they will come off of a speech IEP because it gets to a certain point where if it's like pragmatic, then it's a language based. So that might be a resource rather than a speech. The communication, it could be the actually academics part of it. So I can't give you percentage. We can, look at last year's and I can give you some numbers on your update. However, I do know speech is one that students will graduate from speech because they've learned their articulation or they're able to, do well grade wise and testing wise. And so they will move off. Every so often, though, we will have a student or several students who do master everything. It just depends on how many services they have and how many areas of concern that is needed or that we've seen through testing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Hamrick. I'm going to kind of expand a little bit on Mr. Kenyon's comments. We're seeing a rise in the severe behavior problems with kindergartners. And a lot of these kindergartners, from what I'm aware of, weren't in our preschool program. I don't want this board or I don't want this administration to be put in a position where we're suspending kindergartners. And we sure the heck aren't going to expel them. So that being said, I would like to see something put forward that's a fast track when these teachers or there's something going on in these classrooms that these kids are hurting kids or teachers. I need them out of the classroom and I need them evaluated very quickly because that isn't fair to the kids or the other students. So if you could put something together on how we address those situations specifically, and like I said, these are the kindergartners we're seeing this in. So if you could do that, I would appreciate it. At least give us an idea where we need to go.
I already know.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Then you're ahead of me. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
All right. We'll move on to 4.5, food services presentation. Cindy Cabanilla, Director of Food Services.
Good evening, Liberty Board members. I'm Cindy. I'm the Nutrition Director for Liberty Elementary School District, and I just wanted to share some information about our program and some goals we have. Our main goal is to nourish students to reach their highest potential. In the month of August, we saw an 11% participation growth. We celebrated employee recognition for perfect attendance for the 23-24 school year, and we added strawberry milk twice a month per student request. Oops. We also partnered with Liberty Elementary, and we were granted a Sprouts Garden grant that gave the students $10,000 to put into their current gardens for curriculum, cooking carts, a new watering system, and much more. Our goals are always to have student-driven menus, engage in nutrition education, and secure grants for all our campuses. And for data, we offer monthly promotions in all our schools, such as Spooky Salad Bar, Sweetheart Salad Bar in February. We have increased engagement in free and reduced meal applications, which helps our percentage and allow to secure more grants for our schools. We have ran a self-sustaining program that allows us to purchase new equipment for outdated equipment or equipment that is no longer working. We have kept affordable meal pricing. We have not increased prices for about the last 5 years, I believe. And we continue to secure grants. Year to date, we have secured $100,000 in grants through our food service program. Some pictures with the kids as far as their nutritional education, farmers markets, where they tried to sample a variety of fruits and vegetables, and we offer this in all our campuses. Grab and Go breakfast is currently offered in 6 of our campuses. Blue Horizon has a really large amount of students. It doesn't allow us to do this, but the students do really enjoy this in all our other campuses. Our next steps is to continue to offer scratch-made meals to our students, continue to add monthly promotions, equipment upgrades in all our campuses, and continue to conduct surveys to boost our participation. Any questions?
Thank you. Great presentation. Strawberry milk. Love it. That's awesome that you guys are able to get the, up to $100,000 in grants this year. So that's great to see. And I look forward to seeing what's coming for Blue Horizons. What is it going to take to get breakfast there?
We do offer breakfast. It's
Just not the cart.
indoors. Our cart does not have a POS system that allows us to look up students.
Okay.
The students have about 15 to 20 minutes for breakfast, and we're serving about 250 to 300 daily.
Okay.
It's a lot of kids in a matter of minutes.
It's a lot of kids. However, those carts are very helpful. I know a lot of kids that utilize those in the other district or in the other schools. So if we can keep an eye on that, that would be great to see if we get that there at Blue Israel. Thank you.
Ms. Bixler? No. Nothing? Mr. Cirincione? I just want to say thank you very much. I love to see, the raise in nutrition and the opportunities for our children. I think nutrition education is imperative for their health. So I thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
And if I may, President Parks, I just wanted to thank Cindy for all her work. This food service program, there's very few streams of revenue, if you will, that a school district can have. But Cindy's department has been able to have a profit over the years through our food nutrition program that's allowing us to actually take some of those monies to help with Loretta Zumbro for building the kitchen there. And so I just wanted to shout out Cindy, and all her creativity over the years has allowed us to have kind of a budget balance where we can buy state-of-the-art kitchen equipment for Loretta Zumbro, because remember, we have to be very creative in building that school. And so thank you, Cindy. I just wanted to call that out. Appreciate you.
All right, we'll move on to 5.1, the governing board update. Mr. Kenyon?
Yeah, thank you, President Parks. Just real quick, there's a lot that happened over the last couple weeks since the last time we were here, but I'm just going to be quick. I did get a chance to go with the board, and it was wonderful to see the entire board there, going and visiting Freedom at the board visit, and Principal Arden, he's hiding way in the back there. But I want to say thank you to you and your administrative staff. It was a great walkthrough. Got to go into many, many classrooms, see some wonderful things happening in those classrooms. The teacher engagement with the students was wonderful. The student engagement with the students was wonderful. They're helping each other, and there's just so many different ways. And you saw different strategies of teaching in each room, so it was really, really cool to see that. I know it was stated before, while we were on our walk, but the campus was really clean. It was organized. The kids were actually orderly, which for an elementary school, that was actually very surprising to see a whole bunch of kids walking in a straight line, nice and quiet, going to wherever they were going across the yard. It was good. I didn't see that last year. I saw a lot of chaos, so I'm glad to see that. So I see Mr. Arden taking that leadership position and really running with it. So I appreciate you and your team with that. So that's all I have. One other thing. I received a family in the district. They reached out to me, and they were concerned about, on the district's Facebook page, and not just the district, but all the different campuses, how the comments had been removed from those posts. And I wasn't involved in that decision. However, I do understand the decision. I just want to, for the public, let you know kind of my thought, what's going on. And Dr. Monroe can correct me if I'm wrong, but the district Facebook page is an information area. It's not a comment and discussion area. It's a place where the district and the campuses, principals, administration, teachers, whoever gets involved in that, they put the information out there and let you know all the wonderful things that are happening in the district. The problem with allowing comments and us being a public entity is when somebody comments on there, we are unable to remove those comments. So you get some person wants to put something really bad on there, we aren't able to remove that. So it just makes sense. You limit the comments, and that is my understanding why we would have that. There's plenty of other opportunity to reach out to the board, to reach out to administration. There's, on our website, you all have our contact information at every school now. At the very front office, there's business cards. You can grab one of those. So we're all available. I don't think any one of us are not available to reach out. So if anybody has any comments, questions, they want to have a conversation, that's fine. That's just the Facebook page isn't the place for that. That's an information only. So Dr. Monroe, did I state that correctly? Because I haven't discussed that with you at all, but
Yeah, you said it better than I do. It's a digital bulletin board, but we certainly want, when people have concerns, to reach out to the source, which is typically the school or the principal or the teacher or the district office. But yeah, essentially it's a digital bulletin board to put out all our great things and announcements and communications. And so, but I think you said it right on.
thank you.
Ms. Bixler.
Yeah, a lot going on in the district. I start off with the, and this was done in cooperation with all other agencies around us, the police department and the fire department, so on. Great crisis meeting and brought the community in. Really a great meeting. I think that's a good start, and it looks to me like it's going to continue. I think it's a real healthy relationship, so I'm glad we're doing that. But as far as just here, did have a chance to go to a couple of APS awards. They actually gave out money to two of our teachers, one at Rainbow Valley and one at Las Brisas, where APS came and gave them a check for $500 for the supplies in their classroom. And that was pretty exciting. It was a surprise. They didn't know what was happening, and it was just a great moment to be there for that. I also got a chance to go to the Las Brisas Talent Show, which was terrific. Interesting on the scheduling of who performed first, because in my book, the very first performer, who was a singer named Giselle, and she just knocked the top off of it. She set the bar so high that I was worried that other people following might have trouble getting there, but they did. It was a really, really good talent show. My personal favorite was the performing lizard. I thought that was pretty cool. And the ball python, that was pretty amazing. We then went to a presentation by Mr. Bolden on school finance, Finance 101. I had some community members there that got a pretty good indication of what is this about. Real good session. If you ever have questions about this, want to learn more about school finance, there's more of these scheduled. So come on down and hear what Mr. Bolden has to say. It was very informative. I'm pretty knowledgeable, and I learned a few things there. So I would say come on in and see this. Then on to the volleyball championships. I went to the girls because I'd seen a number of the girls' teams play during the school year. And so I went to the Las Brisas and Estrella Mountain Championship, the girls' teams there. And I got to tell you, the very first game of that championship was the best girls' middle school volleyball game I have ever seen. It was amazing. There was incredible rocket serves and deep digs and slams, and it was almost a college level performance by these kids in the first game. It was incredible. Went to 30-28 before it was finally decided. You normally stop at 25, but you have to win by 2, and it kept going back for it. Great, great, great game. One of the best I've ever seen in my life. On to the board visit at Freedom Elementary, which was good. Really enjoyed seeing the differences. Administration makes a difference, and you can already see some difference on that campus. So I was glad to see that. I was most impressed by the very first thing we saw when we walked into the first building. There was a display in the hallway on science, and it was so in-depth, and it was all about energy and transfer and how things work chemically. It was an amazing display, and where are we in our school year? I mean, we're just getting to the fall break, and they're dealing with these heavy subjects in science. Wow, I was knocked off my feet right from the very beginning. And then on to the Champs Night at Estrella Mountain. For those who don't know that, the Champs Night is all about physical activity, kinetic activity, and learning. And there was a lot going on. Unfortunately, it was 110 degrees. Nonetheless, there was a lot going on there, and it was terrific. Champs Night are always real exciting at Estrella Mountain. I always enjoy going to watch those. Then on to the Freedom Student of the Month, which was this morning. And that was real exciting. If you've never seen a child for the very first time get a certificate of award for something, you need to do that. It fills your heart. It was so amazing, not only to see the kids react to getting the awards, but the kids around them that were supporting him and cheering for him and so on. That was a great moment. I didn't get to stay to the end, but I did get to see the beginning, and it was terrific to see what was going on there. But I want to save the last thing, and I want to really highlight this. I had the opportunity to go see an Estrella Falls football game. It was the Estrella Falls Buckeye High School football game. And the reason why I went is because that was the night where some of our students were going to march with the marching band at Estrella Falls. And it is such a special moment for these kids to actually be out there on the field and be part of a marching program. And that's really what the goal is, to get them enthused about it, to get them excited about it, and to hopefully have them carry it on into their high school years. Because that high school is all about community and the friends you make, and what you give to the school, you'll get back. And being part of a band program is one of the very best things a kid can do in a high school program. It not only helps you academically, it's well known that kids who are in band do a lot better on testing, and it's just part of the community. You become part of the whole. And so I'm really a strong supporter of band and especially of marching. So I was thrilled to see our kids there. It's been a great couple of weeks.
Mr. Cirincione?
I'll keep this pretty short. Went to the Freedom Board walkthrough, whatever it's called, and I don't know if any of you guys here was at everyone I'm spending time on Freedom last year, but the leadership now, you can see it's a huge culture change on that campus. They really showed up. They're taking control as soon as they got there for day one. The engagement in the classroom was amazing. The teachers were amazing. The staff was amazing. Considering it's only 2 months into the school year, almost three. They're doing a great job there, and I want to know you're in the back. Thank you for what you're doing so far. Keep it up. I know it's a huge turnaround from what we had last year. So thank you.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to add on to that. I'll jump in real quick. We did we're focused on curriculum this year, especially math. And we had a math forum where the different principals of the schools and parents and stuff got together to discuss the program and how we were doing and some of the changes that were made. It was really exciting to me to see some of the changes that are happening, some of the support systems going into the classrooms. We're already starting to see some structural changes. I'm very hopeful that those continue, and we continue to see our proficiency, because that's why we're here. And it's number one on our list going into this year is proficiency, both in all subject areas, but mainly in math this year. We're focusing 100% on that. So it was good to see that, and it's nice to see we were seeing little things like focusing a little more on direct instruction and things, but the different programs that we're putting into the different schools and seeing how each one was doing it a little differently. And I think we'll come out of that with a good roadmap. And that's exciting to me, how everybody's kind of working their own program to see what works best, and we can come together at the end and put a plan together, so to speak. I did go to the Safety and Crisis Community Meeting. That's just to keep everybody in mind. There's when things happen around the nation, when we're dealing with whether it's pranks or actual threats or those other things, there seems to be a lot of copycats going on, and the resources that the school has to endure when there's even just a threat. We lose attendance. The coordination we do, we don't, we take it very seriously. We don't take it lightly at all. And it was nice to have a forum where we could kind of have an interaction with the parents and explain both sides of the equation, what we're looking at, what we're restricted to do, how the police are kind of the ones that direct what we can and can't do. So it was nice to see that forum. And I'll just recap. I also went on the Freedom Board tour, and the work that Mr. Arden's doing over there in the short period of time and the turnaround, and I throw this out there. It is a Title I school. They're a little more challenging. And to watch the work and the changes that are happening there is mind-boggling. He's doing a phenomenal job, and this is his first year, and you know what? He's here as long as he wants to be. So anyway, I want to thank him for the hard work, and his staff. His staff is just working around the clock to make sure that those students are in a good, safe, and learning environment. So anyway, I'll leave it there. We're going to move on to 6.1, the approval of the consent agenda. Would any board members like to pull an agenda item?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to pull item 6.3.
I'd like to pull 6.4. Any others? Okay. We're going to reserve the comments for, I think we have some for 6.3, so we're going to reserve those when we pull them. So I'll have a motion to approve the consent agenda, less 6.3, 6.4.
Mr. President, motion to approve the consent agenda minus 6.3 and 6.4.
Second.
I'll take the vote on that. Mr. Kenyon,
Aye.
Ms. Bixler,
Aye.
Mr. Cirincione.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. I'll show that consent agenda, less 6.3, 6.4 passed unanimously. All right, we'll go to 6.3.
Mr. President, we do have
Oh.
some.
Oh, we have public
Yep,
comment.
we do
That's
have
right.
public
I
comment for
apologize. So
6.3.
why don't we go through public comment for 6.3?
All right, first up, let's have Jenny Bruno Doster, and I apologize if I say the names incorrectly.
Just to remind everybody, we have 3 minutes for public speaking on each agenda item. We ask that you refrain from personal attacks and remind that at the time of the comments, we can't provide any feedback. So thank you. Go ahead.
All right, Superintendent Monroe, Board of Education. My name is Jenny Bruno Duster, and I'm a first and second grade teacher at Liberty Elementary School. I am one of the teachers in our building who is disheartened by the resignation of a stellar teacher. Sheila DiBattista has been a model and mentor to her fellow teachers and has impacted the lives of her students and their families in a positive way that my words will not do justice. Tonight, I would like to spend just a few moments to recognize the positive impact kindergarten teacher Ms. DiBattista has had on our school community. And bear with me because my heart is racing because this is very sad for us. Liberty Elementary School uses the acronym PRIDE: Partnership, Respect, Integrity, Determination, and Excellence. Sheila is an exemplar of these 5 pillars. Sheila demonstrates these attributes during her day with her students, her nights planning after school until well into the evening, and her weekend hours to ensure that every moment of the instructional day is planned and implemented in an intentional way that fosters growth for every learner in her kindergarten class. The love and care she nurtures in her classroom is why her students demonstrate academic, social, and emotional growth. And I have some of those students in my class. I have a first and second grade classroom. Kindergarten is the foundation of the school year, and Sheila lays this foundation with the utmost respect for each individual child. Her experience in education guides her decisions and instruction that maximizes the learning each and every day in her classroom. The other day, I was using manipulatives that Ms. DiBattista had given to me, and I told the students, please be careful, they don't belong to me. And one first grader and second grader in unison says, I love Ms. DiBattista. And of course, my response was, I love her too. But this shows that the lasting impression these students' kindergarten days were imprinted from their years with Ms. DiBattista's love and commitment, in which every child has the opportunity to grow and learn and feel the love of a classroom community. Liberty Elementary School is a school filled with hardworking and dedicated staff who will not soar as high without Sheila DiBattista on our team. She will be missed, but she had the courage to resign from a position that jeopardized the teaching, the learning, and the safety of the students in her classroom. I ask all of you to please reflect on the conditions and policies that resulted in this travesty. Thank you.
Next, we have Jenna Williams.
Okey-doke.
Tonight, I stand before you as a voice for our children, our teachers, and our support staff. You, the board members and superintendent, have catastrophically failed. Your self-serving pursuit of political power supersedes the well-being and safety of our children. The unchecked bullying and recent brutal assault of a student is reprehensible. Your focus on targeting teachers rather than protecting students is unconscionable. Teachers are fleeing, leaving our schools understaffed, and those remaining live in fear of retaliation. Mr. Parks, your public comments are appalling. Your words reek of authoritarian ambitions, prioritizing power over the children's needs. I demand your immediate resignation. Mr. Todd, your resignation as board president is insufficient. Your involvement in recruiting Court Monroe and Brian Parks, trading favors for loyalty, is shameful. Do not consider re-election. Superintendent Court Monroe, your inaction on bullying and disregard for parents' concerns is contemptible. Your silence is deafening. Stephanie Mahone, your absence during the assault and subsequent inaction are unacceptable. Your role has devolved into a mere figurehead collecting a paycheck without providing leadership. Liberty parents, I urge you, demand change. You must protect our children from these failures. We can do better without these individuals. Lastly, Mr. Parks, if you refuse to step down, remember your words spoken outside an executive meeting. Your actions and comments will not be forgotten. Resign now, Mr. Parks. Your presence dishonors this district. Thank you.
Next, we have Wendy Merkel.
My name is Wendy Merkel. Up until about 2 weeks ago, I was a 5th grade teacher for Westar Elementary. I resigned on the 23rd because of actions taken by Monroe and Mahorn and Parks in specific that continue to risk the safety of our children in the classrooms, and they continue to risk the safety of parents being able to trust public education. On social media this past week, recordings of Brian Parks were released where he spewed racist comments about you, Mahorn, where he spews details of puppeteering the Liberty Elementary School District for you, Monroe, filled with vulgar and repugnant language that I was the subject of. And these subjects, I can't repeat here. If you've seen them on social media, they were appalling. They are beyond professional, and these were done in public locations. It's abhorrent, the language that you used towards another person, let alone someone that you're supposed to work with, as you and I met 4 years ago and discussed the opportunities to work together, and yet you've done nothing in the years to show that you care for teachers, let alone our students. My statement of harassment and immoral conduct are based on the Arizona statutes of public education, specifically 15-514 Part D, which Parks has said numerous times publicly and now recorded that this board enjoys not following statutes, end quote. Brian Parks has been recorded speaking to others as well, such as Dr. Monroe and Dr. Mahorn, about the need to remove me specifically from the district. And he admits that he is not able to fire me because I am a continuing contract teacher, which for those of you who don't know, it means that I'm good at what I do. I love my students, I love my parents, and I work very hard. But because you were on the board, you are not allowed to control personnel. That should have been our superintendents, but rather it was you puppeteering them And I will say with this, you quote, "You can turn my experience into something awful." You then continue on to say that you also are going to go after my mother who works in this district, who I would bet money you don't even know her name or what she does. I'm here today to publicly respond to my resignation with a demand that my applied liquidated damages be removed. I believe that this should also extend to others resigning across this district this month. We are being forced out by apparently the collusion of Monroe and Mahorn being commanded to do so by Parks. As my resignation stated, I was forced to choose between a hostile work environment or to stay in my classroom. I had to say goodbye to my children, to a classroom that I loved, to a school where my children have gone, and I had to say goodbye to parents because of this unending bull.
Next, we have Sheila De Bautista.
Good evening, Superintendent Monroe, President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, and board members. My name is Sheila De Bautista, and I have a teaching career of 35 years, focusing on kindergarten and first grade. I am a former kindergarten teacher of Liberty School, and I am also the recipient of the Teacher of the Year Award for Liberty Elementary School just last year, 2024. Tonight, you will confirm my resignation. I would like to address a few things regarding my resignation. My letter of resignation went out to the entire School of Liberty, not just my personal classroom. I did state in my resignation that it would take effective immediately. I want to affirm parents that there was no disciplinary action against me and that I was not forced to resign. I chose to resign due to the unsafe working conditions and the learning environment for students. For the first 25 days, that was my last day of school, both Liberty kindergartens have had extreme, excessive behaviors affecting all students and myself. I am here to advocate for all students, the ones who have the behaviors and the ones who do not. I requested a meeting with Superintendent Monroe and Mrs. Mahorn, the Assistant Superintendent of HR and Student Services. Superintendent Monroe did not agree to meet. I met with Ms. Monroe, the Assistant Superintendent of HR and Student Services, regarding my resignation. I sent my talking notes, which I spoke from, to all of the board members and the superintendent. And I did receive a meeting with Mr. Kenyon, and I did receive an acknowledgement from Mr. Parks that he received my information. Thank you, Mr. Kenyon, for meeting with me. I appreciate it. You listened very intently to my concerns, and you voiced that in a voice also that you were concerned as well. Here are a few things that I stated in my talking notes. Dr. Monroe, when you first met all the teachers at Liberty, you said that a very positive, welcoming, and safe environment for kindergartners would continue students through our district. As we are focusing on customer service, in no way have those kindergarten students received a positive, welcoming, and safe environment. Most of the children, it's their very first year in the educational setting. Kindergarten is supposed to be very special. How does an unsafe learning environment with excessive disruptions foster learning? How does it...
Sorry, Ms. De Bautista, your time's up. Next, we have Carrie Jones.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Jones. I am a former employee. I did not think anything would draw me back, but here I am. And as my comments are directly related to things that fall under the control of the school board and this particular agenda item, I am assured by the National School Board Association that I have the right to speak them. As such, I would appreciate not being interrupted, as you have previously done to me now twice in the past, including asking your attorney to interrupt me. Thank you. In the spring, I raised personnel concerns about the state of our personnel and the number of teachers and staff resigning. And I begged this board to ditch their image over integrity ways and put students at the forefront of all decisions, because personnel issues affect students. Mr. Monroe used his valuable district minutes at the next meeting to call me a liar, to spin the numbers regarding retention. I came back again to another meeting, and as our kids would say, I brought receipts, sharing facts regarding the continuing of our dropping numbers of returning teachers. And as of 2 days ago, our district website still boasts an 87% retention rate. For anyone listening, that is a lie. There has not been an 87% retention rate since our previous superintendent was in place. The retention rate may not even be in the 70s any longer, and another 7 teachers are on this personnel action item list tonight. 7 teachers. If we do the average math, that is 150 to 175 students who are without their teachers. And as they're claiming, it is because of the direction of you. Board, since you direct Mr. Monroe, please direct him to ensure that we have truthful transparency about the retention rate in this district. Board, ask for the numbers yourself, check the receipts, and accurately claim in speech and in print the true retention rate. You know, it's interesting to note that this is the board that enacted a liquidated damages fee, while at the same time actively repeating behavior so disappointing and damaging that teachers are willing to pay it to leave this place. If this is your creative way to raise funds, you need a new idea. Do better for our students.
And the last one will be Krista Lija. $7.3. Mr. President, how would you like to proceed with this? Just move it to 7.
We can move it to 7.3.
Okay.
Ms. Bixler, you have comments? 6.3?
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about 7.3. Yeah, my stance on liquidated damages is pretty well known. I don't believe that it belongs in teacher contract language. I will not vote for the application of that for any of our teachers. So I will be voting no.
Dr. Mohorn, can you please go over the resignations and liquidated damages and what we're looking at, and if there's any extenuating circumstances to give the board consideration to waive those damages?
Yep, I can do it generally. Of course, I can't speak specifics on specific people, but we do have 3 exceptions automatically. One is, of course, health. If anyone is resigning because of their health, liquidated damages are already automatically waived. Second would be if a person's spouse gets transferred because of their job or military, anything like that, we do not assess liquidated damages. And the third one is if someone gets a promotion in their position. So if a teacher gets a promotion to an assistant principal or a principal position, we do not we do not assess liquidated damages. So those are ones that we always waive the liquidated damages.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mohorn. All right, I'll take a motion on, well, I have one more. So let's address 6.4. Pulled 6.4. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I'll take a motion to approve 6.3.
Mr. President, after we take a motion, I would like to make a comment, but I will motion to approve personal action item 6.3.
Second.
All right, vote Mr. Kenyon.
Aye.
Ms. Bixler.
Nay.
Mr. Cirincione.
Aye, but I'd like to make a comment afterwards.
Okay, and I'm also an aye, so that passed 3-1. Mr. Kenyon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as was stated earlier, and we've seen a number of resignations, I would like just to kind of follow up my position. We have about a year and a half brought in Dr. Monroe. He's brought in his cabinet. And anytime there's any kind of administrative change, you're going to have people that don't like the direction. And that doesn't mean you're bad people. Doesn't mean anybody's bad. It just means that there's a difference of opinion, difference of direction. And so if there's, and we've always stated this, if you have a general concern that you think we can move on, come and talk to us, talk to the board, talk to administration, work up that chain. And this goes for parents, this goes for staff, this even goes for the children. I've had kids come and talk to me about certain things that they're concerned about. But it's not that it's falling on deaf ears. Most of these resignations are just people who are unsatisfied and they don't want to be with please let me speak.
Excuse me. Can I have order, please?
Are people who don't like the direction of the district. And so I'm not saying anybody's a bad person. It just means there's a difference of opinion, and that's okay. You ought to be happy where you work. And so with that being said, I always hate hearing teacher resignations, but I also don't want to have somebody forced to be here. With that being said, in regards to liquidated damages, we talked about this in previous meetings, and this is where it got put in, is because there were, and continue to be, people who don't care about the kids and will just drop everything and leave the kids, as was stated earlier.
Excuse me.
Hold on.
Excuse me.
It's my time to talk.
Mr. Kenyon, I'm sorry, but we have to have order in here. This isn't tolerated. Sorry. With all due respect, I'll clear this room. We're recessed for 5 minutes. to order. I'd ask that everybody please let our board members speak without interruption. Mr. Kenyon, I'll let you go ahead and finish your statement, and we'll move to Mr. Cirincione.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to follow up real quick. I've reached out, I've talked to teachers, I know some of the issues that are going on and some of the concerns. It's not that they're falling on deaf ears, and I'm trying to do what I can as a board member to hear from the community, to hear from staff, to hear from everybody. That's what our board is for. We are representatives of the people. So please, just if you have concerns, let us know. I want this to be as open and transparent as possible, and that's why I'm speaking now. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Mr. President, I don't know if this is the right spot or if it would be 9.1, but the liquidated damages, I know that all happened before I came on the board, and I don't know if it's something we can like actually look into, but I wonder if having the liquidated damage, is it actually working how we want it? Is it actually retaining any more people? Like, that's the plan of it, correct? But so people just wouldn't quit?
It helps serve as a deterrent, right? When you're signing a contract, you honor the contract, and so it helps serve as a deterrent. It's fairly new. It's, maybe 6 months off the top of my head.
All right, is there a way, I don't know if this, again, I just started this, so if I'm going off order here or whatever, is that just like a meeting we can have, or does it need to be something later?
Yeah, probably at 9.1 we can talk about
Thank you.
doing something, yeah.
All right. I'd like to go ahead and I pulled 6.4. Which is approval of out-of-state travel for student systems team to the EDU Point Synergy event. I just wanted to ask Mr. Bolden what the actual expenses were to the district for that travel.
So that is a that's a EduPoint Synergy conference that Loretta Zumbro is attending in Anaheim, and there is no free van or free shuttle service, so she is paying for an Uber to go to and from the airport. So that's why you see some of those expenses on there.
Okay, so that's the limitation. So we're not out of pocket for the whole conference, and so we're always concerned as a board of the expenses for the travel. So, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, we'll go ahead and a motion to approve 6.4.
Mr. President, I move that we approve item 6.4.
Second.
Vote, Chris Kenyon. Mr. Kenyon.
Aye.
Ms. Bixler.
Aye.
Mr. Cirincione.
Aye.
And I am also an aye. So that passed unanimously. All right. All right, we'll move on to 7.1, discussion and consideration to approve strategic plan goals. Ms. Castellanos has left us, so Dr. Monroe.
Mr. President, I apologize. We do have one public comment on this.
Okay.
Mr. Paul Jensen.
Good evening, Dr. Monroe, President Parks, members of the governing board. My name is Paul Jensen. Served for 8 years on the Liberty District. First, I would commend you on looking at the strategic plan. This is one of the number one priorities of the board, is to set the strategic plan and to let the public know what's important to you as a board. Just a couple of comments. I didn't notice anything about transparency or a caring environment, and it didn't include anything about leadership and guiding teachers. I think that was a misstep and a lost opportunity. From the comments from before, I hate to say it, but it sounds like it's my way or the highway from the board. It might be good to include that so that everybody is aware of what is on. It's sad to see. In the presentation, there wasn't a rank of the focus of learning, which it would be interesting to see what the different groups all felt for each of those focuses of learning. And are you picking the ones that you want or the ones that other constituents want? It'd be interesting to hear more about what broad stakeholder input you got. from parents and community. And now that you've kind of come down to that list of goals, send it out to us again so that we can see and provide our input before you go and implement a plan that people, the employees and parents are not excited about. Just get the input to see where we are. Thank you very much for your time.
That's all the public comment.
Dr. Monroe.
President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, members of the board. Hopefully Mrs. Castellanos got through TSA and is on her plane safely. She presented our goals, and administration would recommend approval of the strategic plan goals. There's a lot of work to be done after this as far as kind of the action steps or strategies or key performance indicators. The goals are kind of a broad stroke, as she said, but it continues our work towards coming to completion of kind of the strategic plan in upcoming months. So again, administration would recommend approval of the strategic plan goals tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Monroe. Do we have any discussion? Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the strategic plan goals.
Second.
All righty. I'll go ahead with a vote. Mr. Kenyon,
Aye.
Ms. Bixler,
Aye.
Mr. Cirincione,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. I'll show that passed unanimously. I'll move on to 7.2, discussion consideration to approve the 2023 annual financial report. Mr. Dane Bolden.
President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, members of the board. This is the FY24 annual financial report that's due each year by October 15th. So this is a short presentation on that report that we must do. So as a part of the AFR, we must be transparent, accountable, and in compliant with the statute. So ASR 15904 says we need to make sure that we're submitting this report for all of our funds that we spent from July 1st of 2023 through October 7th of 2024. All those expenditures need to be reported in this report. And so we'll kind of break some of these out. So the AFR, again, like we just discussed, it's submitted annually to the board by uploaded to ADE by October 15th. And the governing board shall publish the AFR prior to November 15th. And then we also put the AFR on our website. So we'll go ahead and post a link on that. So we're being very transparent, making sure that everybody knows what our reports are. And then here is our AFR, just a summary. So just a quick highlight, M&O, we have 38.6 million in available funds. So that's your beginning cash balance plus your revenues. Then we have expenditures of 36.7 million with the ending fund balance of 1.8. In capital, we had 3.8 million and expenditures of 3.1, leaving 700,000 left over. Another big one is bond building. So we had 21 million in available funding in bond building, and we spent 3.3 million, leaving 17.7. And overall, 92.2 million in available funding and 61.7 in expenditures, and then our ending fund balance is just 31.5 million. So we got a healthy ending fund balance. And those are all of our funds totaling together. Revenue sources. So our state revenue sources, we get about 57.7% of our revenue from the state. That's about average of districts across the board. And then our local tax dollars is about 25%. So property tax pays for 25% of our funding, and then the other half comes from the state. And then you got your federal and bonds, and there's some other percentages there. And then you also have our expenditure uses. So salaries and benefits takes up about 65% of our total budget. That's the majority of the budget, and generally is, no matter where you go. But then you can see we have some other uses and expenditures there. And here's our maintenance and operations, just kind of page 1 of the AFR. So it just kind of has an actual, if you look all the way at that third column, well, I guess it's the second one from the left. All the way down at the bottom, we had 26 million in expenditures in our M&O fund and regular education. This is program 100. In the prior year, we had 23.3 million, so we increased our expenditures by about 2.5 million. So that's good. It means, that 2% raise that we gave. And then we also have transportation, and this is for special education and K-3 reading. And again, our expenditures all increased in all these areas. And same for the classroom site fund. So in the prior year, we spent 2.5 million. In the current year, we spent 3.2. And then a new report that we have to report on is the school level report. We have to break out all of our revenues and all of our expenditures by each school individually. And we did provide those for you to take a look at. But basically, this is another detailed report that we have to provide to ADE by October 15th. But any questions on the AFR?
Mr. Kenyon?
Yeah, just a little bit of clarification and more for the public. So on that, it looked like slide 6, there where you had the whole spreadsheet there, the maintenance operations. You stated that we're up about 2.5 million roughly, and you would consider most of that is going to that pay increase for teachers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I just had one question for you. The school bond, I think there's 17 million left in there. Is that all like earmarked for Zaretta, or sorry,
Yes.
Zaretta? Zimbra?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, 7.3, discussion consideration to approve 2023-24 annual financial report. I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to approve the FY 2023-2024 annual financial report is presented.
Second.
Now your vote, Mr. Kenyon.
Aye.
Ms. Bixler.
Aye.
Mr. Cirincione.
Aye.
I am also an aye. I'll say that passed unanimously 4-0. I move on to 7.3, discussion consideration of job description for Director of Student Services, Dr. Stephanie Mohorn.
If I could interrupt for just a second, we do have one public comment on this. So Crystal Leja, I think I said that correctly?
Apologize for the confusion. I wasn't sure which item it was supposed to fall under. So upon reviewing the agenda, I did see that you are preparing a position description for a new Director of Student Services. However, based on the priority areas of your strategic plan, the goals, the focus on the curriculum, special focus on math, we want to see improved proficiency. I really think that those resources should be allocated to the classroom. Just looking at the salary ranges for Director of Student Services, it looks like it can range from 50 to 100,000. And I think that that can be quite a few positions that can be staffed in the classroom to help meet these goals that we have highlighted that are the special focus for this district. Thank you.
Dr. Mohorn.
President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, and Governing Board. Before you, you see it's an updated version of the Director of Student Services. This was originally brought to you, I want to say, the fall of 2023. This updated job description, the main thing that you will see is it focuses on safety and security, this position would, as well as discipline. So that would be the main change from the job description that you saw in the fall of 2023.
Thank you, Dr. Mohorn. Open for discussion. Mr. Kenyon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. So safety and student discipline, two things that we know in this day and age we need a lot of support there. I also see in here, this job is now being funded through the reduction of 3.5 jobs and efficiency savings at the district office and school site. Just to clarify, 3.5 jobs, where were those taken from?
This will be funded from one administrative, I don't want to say exactly, but
no, that's
one
fine.
administrative position that will no longer exist, and some clerical positions, support staff positions.
But it's not
those-
removing teachers from the classroom,
No,
correct?
absolutely not. Nope,
Thank you.
absolutely not.
Ms. Bixler?
Yeah, one of the things that we got on our financial reports year after year when it gets audited is our frugalness on our administration percentages and how much we're spending on that. We have made a number of additional positions in our district. Some are administrative, some aren't. Would this impact that percentage? Are we risking our glowing rating?
I do not believe so, because one of the positions that we are eliminating is an administrative position. So this would just be position, pretty much.
I would agree with that, Member Bixler. I think one of the things, even before I came to this district, that was very apparent from the board was the emphasis on dedicating monies to the classroom. And I want to say it's the Auditor General's report. I think it's the AG's report that comes out every year that shows we're in very good standing according to our peers, dedicating money to the classroom and having very little admin. In fact, compared to our peers, the amount of admin we have is considerably lower. So I don't think that this would impact that at all. And I think that's something the board should be really proud of, is dedicating those monies to the classroom.
Right, yeah, it's something I like to brag about, so I don't want to lose that.
Mr. Cirincione?
Nothing.
I just would like to add that one of the priorities of this board, and has been, at least since I got on, was getting as much money as we can back to the classrooms. And those who have been kind of paying attention can see we've made a lot of adjustments, even those who are paying attention on our budget allocations this last year. We've worked really hard at it. And, you know, we'll continue moving down that path because it's critical through, you know, intervention supports. You know, we even try to do, teacher salary increases as much as we can, but we're pretty tight on budget on that. So we'll continue to do our best on moving as much money to the classroom as we can. All right, I'll take a motion on 7.3, discussion, consideration, job description, Director, Student Services.
Motion to approve job description for the Director of Student Services.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Kenyon, your vote.
Aye.
Ms. Bixler?
Aye.
Mr. Cirincione?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. We'll show that passed unanimously. Move on to 7.4, discussion, consideration of job description, special education classroom bus professional. Dr. Mohorn.
Again, President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, Governing Board. This is a brand new job description, unique because right at this very moment, it will support a student who needs support in the classroom and on the bus. But I fully anticipate, and if Ms. Hamrick is still here, that we will have additional students that may need this type of support. So that's why this is a brand new job description. Right now, it is just one student who happens to be in preschool that needs this level of support.
Thank you, Dr. Mohorn. Any discussion? Mr. Kenyon? Ms. Bixler?
No, I understand what you're talking about, and that's what we talk about with the continuum of services, so.
Yep.
Mr. Cirincione?
Nope.
All right. 7.4, discussion, consideration, job description for special education classroom bus paraprofessional. Motion, please.
Motion to approve job description for special education classroom / bus professional, paraprofessional.
I'll second.
Okay, if I can have a vote, Mr. Kenyon?
Aye.
Ms. Bixler?
Aye.
Mr. Cirincione?
Aye.
I am also an aye. I'll show that passed unanimously. Move on to 7.5, discussion, consideration of the first reading of policy KCD. Dr. Court Monroe.
Go ahead, Mr. Bolden.
President Parks, Vice President Kenyon, members of the board. This is policy KCD. It's a first read, and it's what we'd like to do to ensure that every gift and donation that comes to the district, that there's an itemized form attached describing what the monies are to be used for.
Thank you, Mr. Bolden. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question on, it appears to me that all they've done is added the word grant. Why? It seems to me that grants are different than gifts, and that their administration would be different. I don't understand why grants were added to this.
So, Board Member Bixler, we actually have added any gift or donation must contain a detailed itemized record detailing the school's name and intended use of funds.
Yeah, but the word grants wasn't in that before, was it?
Yes.
It wasn't there before?
Not in there, no.
So that's my question, is why is grant now in there? Grants.
Just to make sure that anything that we're receiving, we have an itemized, detailed receipt of, what we're going to use those funds for.
Isn't that contained in the grant already?
It should be. Yes.
So, I don't understand the thing behind why put it there. So.
Grants, grants can be very different. This gives us an extra layer of security in case a grant comes across, and maybe it could be a little more itemized. And I do want to remind the board, this is only a first read for discussion, so there's no approval.
Do we have any further discussion? All right, we'll push that through then to the second read. I think that's it. All right, then we move on to 9.1, board comments, I'm sorry, where's 8? We missed 8. There it is, it's at the bottom, I apologize. 8.1, it's call to the public, it's for public comment. Mr. Kenyon.
Yes, Mr. President, we do have a few of them. So let's start with, we're going to start with Bailey Roscoe.
So, my name is Bailey Roscoe. I'm here tonight on behalf of several concerned parents and a group of community members who are concerned about the violence and bullying in the school. I am also here on behalf of the teachers who also spoke earlier this evening in resignations. That is, in my opinion, appalling as a parent. I have heard you guys pass multiple things here after hearing multiple parents, multiple teachers, and multiple other people here tonight speak against every action that you're making. And you guys have barely made eye contact with the majority of these people. You guys have, as Mr. Jensen said, shown very little concern or thought to our feelings from what it seems to be to us. And I also have heard several people stand up here and ask for resignations from you guys. I know you guys can't comment, but I haven't heard any of you guys ask to adjourn any of these votes for later discussion, to see what the parents want to say, to see what the teachers, the other administrators, maybe consider holding off on the vote and holding it again later after you get some more feedback. Mr. Jensen mentioned it with the agenda that was just passed, as far as the one that Amy Castellanos spoke on behalf of. He even mentioned, why not see what us parents, the teachers, everybody else has to think again before voting tonight? That's what I want to ask you guys. There's several teachers here that are speaking. You mentioned, Mr. Kenyon, that they're not happy here. I don't agree with that. I don't think that most of them agree with that. And I actually want to call for a vote on hands of how many parents here agree with any of that here, or teachers, or any other members in this room tonight beyond you guys here at the board who agree with your actions tonight, that those people are leaving because they're unhappy with their jobs, or that they don't want you to resign. Especially you, Mr. Parks, after your statements have come out. Mr. Monroe, you have been completely silent as the superintendent. So I would like to see a raise of hands here. How many parents are in agreement right now with any of their actions in regards to these resignations today? How many parents or teachers or administrators are in agreement to any of these almost unanimous votes that they've taken tonight without considering anything we've said tonight? Because I don't agree with it.
I'm sorry, ma'am, your time's up. Next one, we have Paul Jensen.
Parks and members of the governing board. I'm Paul Jensen, and I'd like to share a couple 3 minutes worth of things that I am troubled with at the district and really would like to see corrected. Served for 8 years on the board because I love the children, teachers, staff, and administrators, and want to see them thrive in an environment that they can do what they love to do, teach and learn. The most recent climate survey this spring shows that 37% of the staff think that the district should be graded at a C or below. That is 63 employees that do not think this district is doing a good job, 10 of which gave the district an F. The question to the board is, do you think those employees should leave the district? Or are you willing to ask them for yourself and figure out what we can do better to provide an environment that guarantees all students learn at a higher level? This climate survey has not been brought to the board. I would highly recommend you review what your community is telling you. Why go to the effort of collecting the data if you are never going to listen to it? Look at all the good and bad and see how we can do better. You recently passed a resolution that said the math curriculum you as a board implemented with minimal staff input is not any good, and you're going to implement a new math curriculum. Arizona Department of Education shows the following troubling statistics. Math scores have gone from a passing rate of roughly 45%, which is not good in 2019, to 25% in 21, and now it did improve to 27% in 2024. I say this next part as in all sincerity, please look at what you can be done for the 6th grade cohort. They had a passing rate of 18%, far below the rest of them. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's help those 7th graders now learn math. The number of inexperienced core academic teachers, principals, and school leaders has gone from roughly 23% in 2019 to 36%. So we are increasing in inexperienced teachers and administrators, and unfortunately have just seen a lot more experience leave tonight. Teachers with out-of-field experience or that are not certified for the subject area they are teaching went from about 8% in 2019 to 23% in 2023. Significant increase in teachers not qualified to teach in their area. I've heard members of this board say that they want to run the district like a business. There's a ton of literature that shows that a diverse board is necessary and good. Business says all of that. Why are you pushing for a very undiverse board and not listening to?
Sorry, Mr. Jensen, your time's up. Next speaker, we have Denise Murphy.
You know, I was going to prepare this great speech, but I think I'm just going to talk with my heart because I taught in Liberty for 10 years. I'm a 30-year veteran. I love my school, Rainbow Valley. Mr. Parks, you made a comment earlier. It disturbs me. You said teaching at Title I is challenging. I'd like to ask you, sir, what makes it challenging? What's challenging about it? Because we have some of the best kids I've ever taught in my 30 years. They learn, they grow, they're amazing, they're leaders. What I see is the lack of support. I don't know the last time you were on our campus and spent time in my classroom. Ever? No. And then your comments about the bad ones, because I'm pretty sure I was one on that list of 62, I think it was. I'm pretty sure I was on that list, but what kills me is, and I'm not tooting my horns, but I'm award winning in all 3 districts I've been in. I have growth, not proficiency per se of a high percentage, but I have massive amounts of growth in every classroom I've ever been in. And yet I'm a bad one? What does that even mean? I feel like no one listens. You're here for your own personal political ploy. I don't know what it is. But why are we here, and why are we even having this forum? Because if we truly cared about children, this wouldn't even be, we wouldn't be sitting here. Where's the integrity you speak of? Because that, what do you even, I'm wondering, I wish you could comment, because I wonder what you would tell me that means, Mr. Parks, having integrity. Because I'm not sure there's a lot of that here. And I would gladly come back and support my principal, because one of the best principals I've ever worked with is Ryan Cagle. And I'm going to tell you, I'd go back in a heartbeat, but not under these conditions ever. No one responds to emails. Ms. Mohorn, you only responded to me last year because I CC'd Dr. Monroe on my substitute complaint that I had. I never would have heard from you. So I'm just curious, what are we going to do to fix it? And what are we going to do to make this a better place for kids and teachers? Because without good teachers, and it's very clear they're leaving in droves, what are you going to do without the skilled professionals that you need to teach our children? Because I'm not seeing it. And it breaks my heart. And right now, honestly, I really feel, Mr. Parks, that you need to resign immediately, if not sooner. I know Mr. Todd's not here, but he really should be taken off the ballot because he's part of this as well. Mr. Kenyon, I really do.
Next public comment, we have William Brentner. Excuse me.
Superintendent Monroe, board members, congratulations, Brian Parks on president. Congratulations, Chris Kenyon on vice president. And I'm representing my community as a taxpayer. My children went to Estrella Mountain Elementary School back in 2003 and 2004 is when they graduated. My daughter is a PhD in biological engineering and is currently a postdoc at ASU. My son is a chief design engineer at Axon Taser in Scottsdale. So I know Liberty had what it took. He had the right stuff back in the early 2000s. Because of economic conditions, I had to move from Phoenix. Myself personally, my wife stayed in Goodyear, but I worked at Raytheon Missile Systems. I'm an engineer as well. And I asked my wife for a little bit of feedback because we really were pleasantly surprised when our kids went to Estrella Mountain. It was a small school at the time, and it was like we were coming from a large school district, Deer Valley School District, and we were wondering, hey, how's this going to work out? It worked out perfectly. My daughter got special attention because she had very advanced math skills. They placed her in a math class over at Estrella Foothills, and my son also placed as well. So I was very happy. And then I went to Raytheon in about 2007, 2008 when the real estate market went to heck. And I asked my wife, how's Liberty doing? And she says, not good. We went through some boards that I'm not going to say, I can't say they were corrupt, but a lot of money went in bad places. There were 2 superintendents before Dr. Monroe that didn't do anybody any favors from an educational standpoint. Talking about running the board like a union in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, so I know what that's all about. And the previous, not Todd, but the previous board president was, I mean, he was white knuckled, you know, cracked the whip, and have no respect for the man. I'm very pleased with the board. I'm very pleased with the superintendent. And stark contrast with a lot of these folks here. And when I worked in industry, it was an at-will job. If you don't like your boss, you don't like your job, hit the road. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Amber Burnell.
Hi, I'm Amber Burwell.
Sorry.
So I'm going to adjust what I had to say, just hearing some of the things for tonight. But I originally was here to express my deep concern regarding the recent resignation of my child's fifth grade teacher, Miss Merkel, from Westar Elementary. And just the troubling environment it seems that our district, and specifically the board members, seem to be creating for both students and educators. I'm also deeply concerned about the recent revelations and actions and conduct of several of the board members, including Mr. Parks, and the comments you have made. Ms. Merkel is a highly qualified, dedicated educator with the reputation of being a great teacher. I was excited for my son to have her. And so as a parent, I was alarmed that a teacher of her caliber felt the need to resign so suddenly, especially so early in the school year. And now I hear the audios of Mr. Parks stating that he wanted to get rid of Miss Merkel but couldn't because she was under contract. Hearing from Miss Merkel tonight, it saddens me. It scares me as a parent to see that this is the hostile and toxic environment that my kids' teachers are working for, and how that can impact my children, their classmates, the loss of education. Again, for Ms. Merkel, this resignation puts a spotlight for me as far as the board's troubling trend of how you're handling teachers and principals who raise concerns or challenge any decisions that you all make. Mr. Parks, hearing that you want to clean house and talk about how you changed superintendent last year. We saw those emails about the board pushing her out last year come to light. Again, it's already been mentioned how you said you wanted to get, or you're getting rid of 62 teachers. Like, why? I hear all these great teachers tonight that are leaving because they're fed up with the district. Like, there is a teacher shortage. So why are we doing this? So to me, this is unacceptable as a parent, the disruption it's creating for our children. I just feel like instead of retaining talented teachers, the district seems more intent on silencing or pushing those out who disagree or question the board. It is hard to be a teacher and teach with all the demands that they are today. So why is this board and administration making it so much harder? Why are you not supporting these teachers that are going to support and pour so much love, time, and energy into our children? As I talk with fellow parents about the board, administration, and the issues and behaviors that we see with you all, we just feel like our kids are just pawns in whatever political or personal agenda you all have. And you're not putting our students first. You're not putting our children first.
Sorry, ma'am, your time's up. The next public comment is Elwood Kutzler.
Superintendent Mr. Monroe, Board President Parks, Vice President Chris Canyon, and board members. It's a pleasure to see y'all tonight. How's your night going? See, the problem here is that 80% of the people sitting in this room, in this gallery, are the problem. These people are political, they're dangerous, okay? And Michael Todd, he resigned. All right. Remember all the times these same people, same faces came up here and said, Michael Todd, we want you to resign. We want you to resign. Right. Well, he resigned. So what happens? Now you're the target, Brian. You're the target now. They need to get rid of you too. Mr. Monroe, they need to get rid of him. Okay. Because they want to go back to somebody like the last couple of superintendents that we had that ruled with an iron thumb and didn't accomplish anything. They lied. You,
Hysterical. You're funny. Go ahead, Ashworth.
I reserve my time, please. We'll wait for the idiots to stop. I agree.
Can you put 10 seconds back on the clock, please?
Thank you. There are street gangs in New York City that have talked less violently than these people have tonight. And I just want to tell you, here's an article. I hope every single one of yous have enough courage to read this, okay? And it's an article that says not in our schools. And it talks about all the garbage, LGBTQ, transgenders, all the garbage in the school. Yeah, see? No. I'm talking, okay? All this is gone because of this board, okay? And here...
This is under
Time.
Everybody, he needs his time to speak. Everybody else, hold on. Everybody else was quiet.
I didn't interrupt anybody.
No, nobody was interrupted.
I didn't interrupt
We need
anybody.
decorum, please. Decorum.
I didn't interrupt anybody.
All right.
I'm not attacking everyone.
Okay, hold on. Just guys, I need order in this room, please. Let him finish what he's saying and we will be done for the evening.
The two policies that they've gotten rid of in IGA and IGD, they were policies that needed to go away. All right. I see a lot of faces in here that I saw for the last 5-6 years, and then they get fired or they leave, and I don't see the faces anymore. Dear Mr. Jensen is in here. I attended every meeting that you had on goals and structure. Where was Mr. Jensen? Was he in any of those meetings? I didn't see him. But you know what happens? The call goes out from the right people. Hey, we need to take down the board. Come on in and load them up. Okay? It's just nuts. With my remaining minutes, I'm going to say, I pray for you board members all and court constantly, and I hope you stand your ground and don't let this tragic situation come down.
That concludes all the public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Kenyon. We'll move on to 9.
She does not even. That is against him. Everyone you know.
Okay, guys, hold on.
Can I please finish?
Officer, can you please stand by? We may need to remove a few people here.
Can I please finish what I was going to say? Board President Brian Parks, how would you like to proceed?
We'll go ahead and let her take her 3 minutes under public comment.
Thank you.
Hello again, Carrie Jones. Thank you to 3 of our previous board members for being here tonight. Mr. Kenyon, you say that you want it to be open and transparent, but you have failed to speak up on behalf of teachers. You consistently vote however Todd and Parks vote, and that is why your audience hollered out the word liar. Because there is no safe means for voicing concerns in this district. The only reason that I'm safe to do that here today is because I left on my own accord and I'm safely on other greener pastures, and they are greener, people. Everyone has seen how much transparency you actually want. If your name is Mr. Kunstler or any of his cronies, you hand him a microphone. He can say whatever he likes regardless of fact. And if you are disappointed in something, you are muzzled. First, the public comment was shifted to the end of a meeting, making it more difficult for community members to make a non-specific, potentially late time. Next, language was written into the policy after I spoke that would allow teachers or staff to be disciplined for saying anything negative. After I spoke at a meeting, you hauled my colleague who dared to share the already public video into a room and attempted to threaten her with discipline. You've also called out more than a dozen teachers out of their classrooms, taking them away for students because they dared to talk about speaking. How comfortable, Mr. Kenyon, do you think your staff is in speaking up? You poured a bucket of added insult over injury with your comments. Mr. Parks, even at recess, you had trouble controlling your tongue. Please do not insult us by claiming that it's not you on these videos and recordings, because all those videos do is validate what we already know to be true about you. You cornered me at a student event once to just discuss all the negative things about other board members and our previous superintendent when I was there for my students. If you genuinely believe anything you claim to about what is best for students, you will resign, Mr. Parks. And Mr. Cicerone, I barely know you. But the fact that you threw your support behind that man and you have done nothing but vote with him and Mr. Todd, I ask you to drop out of the race. It isn't transparency if all the community sees is the facade you paint versus the reality behind it.
All right, does that conclude the public comments, Mr. Kenyon?
Yes, and I would like to ask that next time if somebody wants to speak general, they actually put the number 8.1.
Yeah, we actually changed how we do public comment, and we do request that there's a separate sheet for there's a reason for it. And it's so you have your time on every agenda item and we make sure it gets done. We're not trying to cut it off. It actually make sure that we provide that time for you. So we apologize if there was a misunderstanding. In any case, we'll move to 9.1, board comments or agenda topic requests. Mr. Kenyon.
If administration can look into, I know Superintendent Horn had released, or the money, new money's being available for SROs and SSOs to campuses, and what that may be, if we can get an update on that, trying to get more safety personnel in our campuses.
Ms. Bixler? Mr. Cirantonio?
Yeah, the only thing I don't know if it needs to be an agenda, just an update. Is if we can just look if what's it called? Yeah, if that's working as we intended.
All right, upcoming board meetings. It's 10.1. Just so everybody's aware, on Monday, October 28th, the regular governing board meeting and work study session starts at 4:30. Will be held at Liberty Elementary School, which is right next door to us here. That's because they're going to be doing the polling for the voting, and we won't have access to this room. Monday, November 18th, it's a regular board meeting and a work study session. Monday, December 2nd, it's just a regular governing board meeting. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Can everybody make those okay? Everyone's okay. All right. We're going to adjourn this meeting at 7:47.